everyone, and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Show, where I try to help you spend your wine dollars wisely. By the way, just wanted to mention real quick, got a little bit of water in there. Just wanted to mention real quick that in producing these videos, I'm doing everything by myself. This is a one-man show, baby. I set the stage, I pick the wines, I put it out on YouTube, I do the whole thing together. I'd love to have a crew to help me, but I don't have that luxury at my disposal. So, been shooting videos, now we're up at 205, I believe this is episode 205. 205. Getting excited to interview Trey Bush in a couple of days. I hope all that comes together. Again, the reason I'm saying this, I'm having a good time. I love it. Takes a little bit of extra effort to do all this. So if you're seeing a little less videos, it's because of the things I'm doing. And now I've learned how to edit, which is I'm really addicted to, adding the little bit of music at the beginning and a little at the end and doing all the little captions and all that. I love it. I hope you like it. Make a comment. Let me know. Make a comment. Just say, hey, Stan, I love it. I love the format. Love this. Give me some suggestions, too. What would you like to see in the future episodes? What would you like to see me do? Do you like the blind tasting events? The blind tasting things. Do you like certain varietals that you would like to see me review? Are there other things you would like to see? Do you enjoy the interviews? I hope you do. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to interview somebody else. That way you're not having to watch me the whole time. I have to work on Mike Sheridan, though. Whew, get him to not talk so much while I'm trying to shoot my video. Love the guy. Love Mike. Shout out to Mike. Love using Mike's Wine Bar and Cafe. It's a great spot. By the way, Mike, let me see if I have Mike Sheridan this is his wine. I'm just going to show you real quick. He is the winemaker and owner of Northwest Totem Cellars. This is his wine label. He makes great wine. He has a great palate. Love the guy. He just needs to learn how to keep his mouth shut while I'm trying to film. Anyway, I hope you're watching Mike. I actually don't think Mike watches these as much as he should. The theme of today's show is Merlot. And I've been on the Merlot train a long time. I love Merlot. I think it's a very underrated grape. We all know about the movie, blah, blah, blah. But the thing that I like about Merlot is some of the best wines, one of the greatest wines I ever got a chance to taste, thanks to Dionysius. Dionysius is a code name I gave my friend. I don't want to use his name. Who really enjoys wine, who really enjoys drinking and sharing his wine. And one time he shared a 47 Petrus with me. I had no idea that was coming, and it was a really great experience. I'll never forget it. Just the fact that a 60-plus-year-old wine like that could drink so well and have such a good bouquet and everything, and that is predominantly Merlot. So the point is that, who cares about Hollywood? I'm sure it was all satirical. I'm sure they didn't really think that they would demolish Merlot sales around the world, but they did. And they're starting to etch their way back. In fact, 2 years ago, this one that I'm going to taste today from Whidbey Island Winery was my #1 wine under 20 bucks in 2013. And shout out to those guys. They shared with me that when I posted that on my blog, they sold out immediately, and their 2012 just went whoosh. Glad to hear it. Love it. And they didn't get carried away with their pricing. They're still at around 17 bucks, which is good. I think they were 16 when I reviewed it 2 years ago and made it my #1 wine under 20 bucks. So excited to try that, the new vintage, the 2013. But let's get started right away with my homies, Juan Vineyards, 2011 Merlot, Horse Heaven Hills. This rolls in at $19 accordingly. Yeah, $19. So these guys are, like I said, 3 miles up the road from my place. I love the winemaker Chris Premise. Become good friends with him. He does a great job with his wines. And Yvonne's a good friend of mine. She's the owner. Like I said, it always makes me nervous when I review their wines. But I call them like I see them. So let's hope this one shows well. Again, as we've mentioned many times, 11 was a tougher vintage for Washington State. Let's see what we get on the nose. Get a little bit of a soapy edge to this, which is interesting. And that's not from the glass. I rinsed the glass good, so. Getting a little tobacco. Tobacco is definitely there. A little bit of black licorice. A little bit of heat, which is interesting. Not something that Chris is known for. 14%. I'll have to ask him if he fudged up or down. Maybe fudged down a little bit on that one. A little candy action coming through. That's what I'm getting. Almost like a, getting like candied licorice. A little bit of candied plums. Interesting. Let's see what we get on the palate. Very impressed with that wine. Good, solid weight on the palate. Nice flow, good symmetry. I mean, it's just seamless across the palate. I'm getting a kind of a black plum meets black raspberry meets interesting. That candy-esque sort of thing comes through. That like candied licorice with plums. I'm getting blackberry out of this big time. I guess it more than black raspberry. Get blackberry out of it. Tobacco for sure. The tobacco notes are there. This is very interesting Merlot. It has good flow across the palate. Solid mid palate. Thins out just a little bit on the finish. A little bit of grip on the back end, not a lot. I really like that. It's hard to, almost like a candied black licorice, but not really. I mean, with a little bit of red flowers, candied red flower element coming through. But it's not sweet. Don't get me wrong, it's not sweet. It just has that little essence of that flavor. A little bit of white pepper on the finish. A little thin on the finish. That would be the only thing I think about this wine if I, you know, it's just a little bit of thin. But not, it doesn't disappear. It just gets a little thin on the finish. I like this wine a lot. I'm going to go B+. I think it's a great Merlot. 19 bucks, good value. If you really want to know what Washington Merlot's about without the oak, Chris uses very little new oak. He only uses neutral oak in his wines. Very good expression of Merlot. I like it a lot. Good job, B+. Let's move on. Now we're going to Cali, Clear Lake Steele Merlot 2011. This rolls in at $17. I did a couple of Washington. I wanted to throw a Cali in there, you know, because just because. I'm a huge fan of Jed Steele. I think he does a great job with his wines. Shooting Star, Writer's Block. And now we have their Merlot. Did I do a rinse? I don't think so. Big rinse. Big rinse. So I'm a huge fan of Washington Merlot. I know there's a few really good Cali Merlots. Not my place I'd look for Merlot necessarily, but I don't think the Central Coast should do any Merlot at all. It definitely does not do good things for the grape, in my opinion. And part of the demise of Merlot, everybody jumped on the Merlot bandwagon. It was big in the late 70s, early 80s. It started getting really big in the 80s, early 90s, excuse me. and people just jumped on it, started cranking out all these cheap Merlots that were really not that good. They probably just shouldn't have made them. Anyway, let's see what we get on the nose. Oh, corked. Sorry, Jed, corked wine. Let's move on. I hope I'm going to do a wine class middle of June, and I'm really hoping, I'm going to switch classes. That was really corked. Really corked. Nope. There we go. Okay. Whew. Anyway, I'm going to do wine class. I always like it when I run across a corked wine. I'm not going to say this is too far away. It'll be long gone. But it's nice for people to understand what a corked wine is. TCA, it gets a little bit of that wet cardboard. It's definitely off-putting. And this one had a lot of it. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. I'm very sensitive to it, by the way. I can taste corked wines, and they're very little corked. Sometimes I wish I couldn't. I've had quite a few on this show, actually. 205 episodes. I believe I've had at least 6 corked wines. Which I might not seem to a lot, but you know, sometimes it's frustrating. I wanted to review that wine, can't do it because it's corked. Let's see what we get on the nose. Now this has like a caramel-esque, it's very caramel thing coming through on the nose. Oh, probably should tell you what it is. This is a 2013 Whidbey Island Winery Merlot, Yakima Valley, 13%, 13.7% alcohol. So this rolls in at $17. Like I said, I believe it was this is the, what, 13, 12? I think it was the 11 that I put in my top. I'll have to look back and see which one it was. Anyway, yeah, it was the 11 that made it in my top 20, my top 40 under 20 bucks. Number 1, wine. Let's see what we get on the nose. Like I said, caramel big time. I mean, that's the first thing I think of. A little bit of caramel and chocolate coming through. And right underneath it is a little bit of dark cherries. Tobacco, for sure. Very interesting on the nose. Not very often I get that caramel, chocolate, tobacco, cherry thing going on. Let's see what we get on the palate. I'm telling you, that Steele Merlot was so corked, I had trouble spitting in that bucket without smelling it, which is very interesting. I'm very impressed with this wine. Very, very impressed. A lot of kind of a plummy chocolate, cherry thing coming through. On the chocolate is very subtle, very subtle. A lot of tobacco, red flowers, very spicy. I love the spice on this wine. Really comes through. White pepper, black pepper. A little bit of a barbecue spice coming through, and just a hint, kind of a beam, but makes it very interesting, of tomato stem coming through. You would have to really analyze this wine. I don't expect you to get that out of it. Promise you it'd be hard, but it's there. Coming right through with the tobacco. Tobacco really lingers on the back end of this, along with the cherries and plums. I'm getting a little bit of plum action on this wine. Red flowers too, right on the mid palate, right in the back of the mid palate. Good acid, good integration of acid, fruit, tannins. Great bottle of wine. Again, this Merlot it's a youthful Merlot. I would say 5 years would not do it any harm. You would have a really beautiful wine in 5 years. It's beautiful now. Love the lingering white pepper on the back of the palate, just kind of hanging there. This is really classic Washington Merlot. I really like the San Juan Vineyards, but this one kind of hits kind of hits it out of the park. I mean, yeah, you can have big voluptuous fruit. You can have, you know, kind of on towards the goopy side. This has good structure. This has great structure. This is a great bottle of wine. This, I'm telling you right now, we're in May. This is, again, a candidate for my top 40 under 20 bucks. Hopefully they have some left at the end of the year, because one of the criteria I have for the wines that I list in that list is that you can get your hands on them. If you can't, hopefully the 14 is just as good. I hope they sell out of this Merlot. They do an excellent job. I'm going A on this wine. It is very good Merlot. And if you want to know what Washington Merlot is about, for 17 bucks, 17 bones, this is a great example. There you go, Merlot. Don't give up on it. Remember, wine is not a mystery. It is just fermented grape juice. Drink it. Enjoy it. Be willing to try new things. Don't let Hollywood, don't let anybody tell you that Merlot isn't worth buying and drinking. It is. It is a great wine. And it has great potential. And it will age. And 17 bucks, 17 bucks, 18 bucks, 17 bucks. Well, I can't tell you anything about the Steele. Great wines. But never, ever, ever let anybody tell you what you should or shouldn't like. And what I mean by that, I know I say it all the time, but what I mean by that is if you don't like a wine and you say, well, I don't like Bordeaux, you've tried it. Now, you have to try it first. And you say, well, I just don't like that wine. If you can say that honestly, don't let anybody tell you you're ridiculous, because it's your palate. If we do that together, we can keep the snob out of wine.